And it seems I'm live. Oh, great. So patiently waiting for the live stream to start. That's great. Okay, Friendly Creeper says, I thought there won't be any session today. So that's right. So basically, I wanted to take a break today, and I was thinking the problem is if I take a break and then we have set a challenge of 10 days, so we will break one day, right? And I want you to be consistent there. And I wanted to be consistent as well. But then I thought consistency is important, but it's not more important than health. So it's important for me to take a break of at least one day in between so that I can take proper rest. And my eye is still recovering. So let's hope for the best. It will be recovered by tomorrow. And if you have seen my recent videos, I tried to, in fact, I've recorded the videos, but then it's still visible. So I will be recording next videos after this recovery, maybe tomorrow morning. I hope it will be good. So what is the agenda today and how we are going to do session? Because I'm not taking it. So basically, I wanted some help here. And that's where we have Heather. Now, Heather is standing there waiting to take a session. So if you can show your face to the camera, Heather. So Heather is all set. Oh, it's not, you're not visible. So yeah, okay, cool. So Heather is all set to take a session, and today we are going to talk about annotations. Now, if you remember, in the project we have worked with, so when we started with Spring Framework, we have used some annotations, right? We have used component, we have used service, repository. In fact, in Core Java as well, we use certain annotations. Now, for some people, they know what is annotations. I mean, they know what annotations are, but then they don't understand the importance of it. How do you create an annotation? And that's where Heather is going to take a session on annotations. Again, since this is the only 1 hour session, we can't talk everything about annotation in 1 hour. It takes hours to talk about annotation, but he will try to do his best to cover most of the things in this session. So make sure that you are focused, because that's very important. That's what Heather says. Focus is very important, and you will hear that from his voice. So yeah, so let's get started in next 2 minutes. So what we're going to do is let everyone join the session, and Heather will also set up his machine. And yeah, so let's continue in exactly 2 minutes. Don't go anywhere. The topic is very important, and I'll be coming in between to share something if I want and if Heather allows. But yeah, so let's get started in next 2 minutes.
Hello everyone. Thank you so much, Naveen sir, for the opportunity. I'm here today. We will be discussing one of the important concept, annotation. I hope I'm audible. Can you just acknowledge once? Just acknowledge me. Great. Great. Thank you so much for the acknowledgement. As Sir said, annotation happens to be one of the most important topic for Java developers. If you are working with Spring Boot and if you are working with the project as a developer, you will not find a single project file wherein you have written the code and you have not used the annotations there. So in that context, annotations happens to be one of the most important topic which every Java developer must know. And what you need to know is what exactly annotation means. And we will be knowing this by creating our own annotations. Basically, I have recently, taken some of the interviews, including freshers, some 2-3 years of experienced developers, also to 5 to 6 years of experienced developers. Wherein when I have asked about the annotation, they were just telling that, yeah, I know about annotation. We have bean, we have configuration, we have component, we have repository. They are just naming it. And some of them are just trying to define some of the annotation. What is the purpose of a specific annotation? They just say that whenever we want to override, we just use override annotation. And for functional interface, we just use one annotation called as functional interface annotation. This is the purpose of bean annotation. So they were answering me specific annotation and their purpose, but they really don't know what exactly annotation is, why it was introduced, how to use, how to create our own annotation. They had least knowledge on that. They were just, okay, annotation is very important, we are aware of that. And some of the annotation they were just trying to describe and just saying that purpose of this annotation is so and so. That is not the case. So you have to understand that, since you are going to use that very, very often. So in this session we will try to understand within the time limit we have, we will try to be productive and try to understand as much as possible with respect to annotations. Can we start? Just acknowledge me once. Yes. Great. The topic of the discussion, as we have already mentioned, it is annotation. Basically, if you have worked with Java earlier, at least basic level, maybe many of you have no clue about it. That's all, no, absolutely fine. But some of you, if you know basics of annotation, can you just name some of the annotation which you have used or come across or maybe heard of? Some of the annotation names.
So there's a delay between what you say and when they reply on YouTube.
If you have worked only with the core Java, override. Yes. Functional interface. If you have worked with Spring Boot, component. Yes or no? Repository. Yes. We have many annotation. What exactly they are, that's what we need to understand it. Fine. Now to start with, okay, now please see here. Annotation, basically it's an extra information which you are going to embed on your code, which you are going to add on your code. And if you add that extra information on your code, your existing programs, files, project will not be affected. The feature, the purpose for which you have written the code, that will not be affected. Rather, some extra features will be also added to this. That's what annotation means, which works based on the mechanism of interfaces. If you want to create annotation, then you must be aware of the concept of interfaces. You should be comfortable with the concept of Java. I hope majority of you know Java and have fundamental idea about Java, and you know the concept of interface. Then you will be in a position to understand everything about annotation. Basically, annotations, we have built-in annotations. We have custom annotation. Custom in the sense annotation which you have to create. Built-in annotation, we have many annotation which has been already coded. You as a Java developer, you are just going to use them. But if we just want to directly talk on the built-in annotation which have been used, your also, answer also will be same in the interview, that this is a purpose of a specific annotation. But that's not the case here. We'll be creating our own annotation here. Then we will try to understand everything about it, and then later if we just try to talk about some of the built-in annotation, then you'll have some idea about about the particular annotations, and everything will make sense in that case. Fine. So I hope all of you are in the same page here. So what is that extra information which you are going to embed? That's what we need to see here. Example, I'm going to write some code here. Maybe I'll be practically also doing it by writing down the code. I'm just starting here. Maybe class Virat. Some code I will write here. Now to this code, I'm going to embed some extra information. If I add some extra information, existing code features, whatever I have written, that will not be affected. I'll be adding some extra information here, that maybe Virat is a cricket player. This extra information, supplement information, which you are adding to your source file, source code, is only called as annotation. This supplement information, that this code, whatever the purpose you have written, this extra information or supplement information which you are adding is only called as annotation, that Virat Kohli is a cricket player. This is an annotation. What exactly, how it will help by writing down some of the code, we will try to understand, wherein you'll have better idea about it. Fine. Now let me just share the screen here. Okay, great. So let me write down some of the code here. Okay. I hope this screen is visible. Okay, great. Okay. Fine. So as I've said, it works based on the mechanism of interfaces. So first thing, let's create our own annotation. Then we will try to debug the things, and then we'll try to understand it. Now to start with, I'll be creating one own annotation here. And the annotation works based on the mechanism of interfaces. I want to give the name of my annotation as maybe cricket player. And how do I go? I'll just use the interface keyword here. Interface cricket player. Fine. And whatever you want, you can add here. Maybe I'll just add here integer type age, string type country. String type, oops, country. Fine. Now, if you just look at this code, you'll feel it's same like an interface. Then can I call this as annotation? No. You have to inform compiler that, look, I'm creating this as not as an interface, I'm creating this as an annotation. How do you do that? You just have to attach one symbol here which informs compiler that it is not an interface. The annotation type is being created. I'll just attach this @ symbol. The moment if you just do this, it's just one symbol that one annotation type is being created. Fine. This is how we have to inform. Now, let me just share what I'm trying to say here. So let me just write down properly here. See here. This @ symbol informs compiler that this is not an interface, an annotation type is being created. An annotation type is being created. Fine. This is first thing you have to inform. Only if you use interface keyword, Only if you use interface keyword, then it will act like a normal interface. Annotation works on the mechanism of interfaces, but it is not interface. They have just followed the mechanism, and to that you just have to attach the symbol which informs compiler that it is not an interface. One annotation type is being created, which you can add as a supplement information to any of your source code. Basically, all the annotation will be adding to our source code. You might have seen, if you have worked with Java, some of the annotations you have applied at class level, at method level, at field level, local variables, to constructor. Every places you can apply. Why some of the annotation you can apply to specific places? Why everywhere we cannot apply the annotation? That also you will be able to understand. Fine, that also we will try to see. I'm just trying to create our own annotation here. So now let me just create one class here. I'll be creating one class, whatever class you want to know, Virat. Fine, whatever you'd like to give here, int runs, maybe here integer type, number of innings, whatever information you'd like to give. After which I'll just add some setter here, normal Java code, public void, I'll say here set runs. This setter I'm just adding to set the runs. I'll just tell here as this dot runs. Of course, I will add here as maybe integer type runs equals to runs. Great. I'll add one more setter here. I'll say here public void maybe set innings, and here I'll say integer type inning. Of course we can generate it, but since we have only two variables, let's write down instead of just generating. If I had so many members, then I would have just generated from the ID itself innings. Great. And just to get the values, I would like to write some getters here. I will say here public maybe integer type get runs, and here I'll say return runs. Fine. Similarly, I would like to say public integer type get innings, and I would like to return innings. All set. So simple. I have one class here which has two data members which will hold some data, and to set I have setters, and to get the values of the data members I have some getters. Simple normal Java class. Fine. Now for some time, please forget about this annotation which I have created. I'll just go down, and I would just like to create the object of that particular class, and I will just tell here as Virat type v equals to new Virat. Okay, great. V dot set runs, whatever runs you'd like to add here. Then I'll say here v dot set innings, maybe 250 innings. This is an approximate number for an example. Fine. So if you are a die-hard Virat Kohli fan, don't try to correct on the comment that this is the exact number. You can of course say it there. Now if I want to just get the values, I would like to print also. I'll say system.out.println. What to print? I'll say whatever this getter gives, please print that. Basic Java program, system.out.println. I will say here v dot get innings, get runs and get innings. And of course, if you just run this particular code, you can see you are getting this. So this class is working fine. That's not the case. So what I'm trying to say is, to this source file, to this source code, I want to add some supplement information without affecting the existing code. Just I want to add some extra information. I want to embed some supplement information. That supplement information is only called as annotation. What is that supplement information? I would like to say that supplement information is that Virat Kohli is a cricket player, and this annotation, this is where annotations comes into picture. Fine. Now I will just add it here. I will say here, I'm just trying to take simple example here for so that you can understand. Of course, there are so many annotations. If you have understood this basic fundamentally, then while you're using the annotations, when you're developing the application using the Spring Boot, you will be in a position to understand that. So I'm just going to add this annotation. And whenever you're just going to create an annotation, right, only if you write this much, it is not sufficient. You have to inform where you are going to, what is the target of this annotation, where you are going to apply this annotation. If you have worked with annotations earlier, every annotation you cannot apply everywhere. Some annotations you can apply only to the method level, that means to a method only. Some annotation you can apply only to the variable. Fine. Now some annotation you can apply only to local variables, only to constructors, only to the enums, not everywhere, right? So you have to specify, whenever you create your own annotation, you have to specify what is the target of this annotation, where you want to use this annotation, that you have to specify. And second thing which you have to specify here is, what is the retention policy? Do you want to use this supplement information which you are providing to your source code till the compile time, or you want to carry this supplement information till the runtime at the JVM level? All of you are aware of the concept of comments, which is a good practice as a developer, that whenever we write any of the code, we write comments, right, the information about the codes. So I'm just telling here, I am learning annotations. I'm learning the annotations. I'm just learning the concept of annotation. Fine. It's a practice code. Simply I'm just providing the comment. So this comment, I'll say here, practice code. This comment has life till the compile time. The moment you compile, this comment has no value from there. It will not reach to compiler also. It is only for the developer who is looking at the code, not to the compiler, not to the JVM. So the comment, whatever you are writing on this, if you are developing anything, you are just written some comment, and if a new developer is coming in your place, he, by reading these comments, he can understand what code you have written. That's it. It has no value till compiler, till the runtime. Fine. It has expired. No, it will just get expired the moment it reaches to the compile time. The power is only till that level. Fine. Some of the things are there. Example, if I just don't put here, we are getting one error, red line. That means this particular code, whatever I have written on my IDE, it is reaching till compiler, and compiler is able to identify that whatever I have written, it is not in a proper format. Hence, error is getting generated here. That means this particular code is reaching till the compile time. Fine. But here, if I have written something, these comments, are you getting some red line here? Are you getting any error here? No, right? That means it is not reaching till compile time. Fine. Hence, similarly, whenever you write any annotation, that means you add any extra information, you supplement any information to the code, to the source code which you have written, in the form of annotation, then you have to inform. Do you want this to act like a comments only, as a replacement of comments, or do you want this annotation, this supplement information which you are adding to the code to reach till the compile time or the runtime? That also you have to specify. So basically, I have created my annotation. Two things extra I have to do here. I have to inform the target. I'll say here, what is the target? Target. Not just that, I have to also inform here the retention. And here I will say element type. That means till which element type dot, see here, annotation, constructor, field, local variable, method, module, package, type. Type means it is applicable for a class, it is applicable for an interface, it is applicable for a enum or if you want to use the annotation for an enum, for an interface, or for a class, you can go with the type, or else you have to specify what is the, where you want, what is the target of this annotation which you are creating. I would like to go with the type itself, that you, so that you can apply to a class. See, type I have given. Fine. Now I will also say retention. So now I'll say here retention policy. I'll give the proper conclusion, little patience, and if you have worked with some of the annotations, then you will be able to connect the missing dot links here the moment we conclude this particular sessions or whatever I'm trying to speak. Few more minutes. Retention policy, I'll say here retention policy dot, see here, class runtime source. Source means it will act like a comment. Whatever comment you have written here, right? I am learning annotation practice code. It will act like a simple comments. It's just like a replacement of a comment. If you say class, it will reach till the compile time. If you say runtime, it will act like a comment also. It will reach to the compiler also. It will reach to the JVM also. That means this extra supplement, this information which you are adding or embedding to your code, that information will reach to the compiler also, will reach to the runtime, will reach to the JVM also. Fine. Now whatever annotation I have created here, cricket player, what is the target of annotation? Type. Type means can you apply to an interface or a class? Yes. And what is the retention policy? Is it acting like a comment or it is reaching till the JVM? It is reaching till the JVM. Fine. So let me go ahead, and now I have to give the values here because two things it is accepting, that also I have to pass here. So let me just do that here. I will say here age equals to maybe whatever age you would like to give, 34, and country equals to, then I'll pass the country here, maybe India. Now see here, it is looking like a method, like it is there in an interface. And if there are some of the methods in this form inside an interface, how do we implement them? How do we implement them? How do we? By writing a separate class traditional way we implement, or if it is a functional we implement using the lambda expression. Multiple ways are there, depend on what type of interface it is. But tell me one thing, is it an interface or is it an annotation? It is an annotation, not interface. So you cannot implement these things, this behavior like the way you do in interface, because it is not interface. It's just working on the mechanism of interface. It is an annotation. It is different from interface. You have used @ symbol here, which defines, which informs compiler that an annotation type is being created based on the mechanism of interface, but it is not interface. So you cannot expect that implementation like you do in a traditional way, the traditional way of implementing interfaces. So this way is the one, or else you can also do it using the default keyword. I just have to say here default value, default age is 34, and here I would like to define default, and I would just like to add here country India. This way also you can do it. Now I will just add this annotation @ cricket player. See, now am I able to embed extra information, supplement information to my source code? Yes. See, this is the supplement, extra information I'm embedding to my source code. Will it affect existing feature of my source code? The answer is no. Existing feature of the source code will not be affected. Rather, you are adding the supplement information. Fine. And default values also have given here. If you don't give anything here, how we have a marker interface, like we have marker annotation also. But however, this annotation is multi-valued. It has some values also, and I'm just applying to the class. Now, how am I able to apply to the class? Because the target is type, element type. Type means you can apply to a class, to a interface, to enum. Fine. So I'm able to apply. Now, if you have understood so far, can I apply that annotation to this field? this field, or you can call it as instance variable. Can I do it? If I just say here @cricket player, will it work? What should be your answer? The answer is no, because while creating my annotation, during that instance itself, I have informed the target of this particular annotation which I have created is only for type, that means to the class. You cannot use for a field. That is the reason you have, if you have worked with Java earlier, if you have used some of the annotation, you will be getting error. Sometimes it will expect you to pass some data. Sometimes if you apply to a variable, you will get error. You have to apply to the class only. You have to apply to the method only. Why? Because those are built-in annotation which has been coded by the Java team. And while they were coding those annotation, they had informed the target. They had given the target. Maybe the target override is one of the annotation which I'll also try to use here. While explaining the built-in, some of the built-in annotation, that time I'll try to explain that. You can use only for the method. If you try to use for the class, if you try to use for a field or a variable, you will be getting an error. Why? Because the target of that override annotation, they have already defined, the team of Java, and they have said that can be applied only to the method. Hence, you can use that only to the method. @bean annotation. If you have worked with Java, can you please let me know in the comment, is it a method level annotation or is it a class level or a variable level? And we have a question how to access that. Using the reflection API, we can access the values of annotation also, which we have discussed in this channel itself yesterday about the reflection API. That also I'm going to use to fetch the values which are there inside an annotation. That also we will be saying it. Please let me know if you have worked. If you have worked, basically with, a Spring Boot, you must know what bean annotation is. Method level. If you are saying that it is a method level, is it meant that it is, what is the target? What might be the target of that particular annotation while they have created? What is the target? Method is a target. I hope you are able to understand that here. Let me just apply this here. Now I'll not go with the type. I will say here dot. I will say here maybe field. See here, field means instance variable. Now, the moment in the class here, earlier we did not had any error. Now we are getting an error. Why? Because this annotation target is field. Here we don't have error. Here we are getting an error. Because it can be applied to these fields, to this instance variable only. You cannot apply this to class or a method. Because the target is, what is the target here? We have specified the target as field. That means that can be used only for field. I hope now you are able to understand why some of the annotations you can use to a specific place only, because while they were creating, they have already defined the target where you can use it. Now, if you want some information about the code to act like a comment, what should be the retention policy? Is it needed to be given as a runtime? Not needed, right? I don't want that to reach till the JVM or compiler. Can I act that as a source only? This, and in that case, this particular annotation, of course, I'll change it to class itself. It will make more sense. Okay, sorry. I'll say here type dot type, great. And here I'll just comment down. Wow, great. Now, source, it is acting like one comment that, oh, this class, this Virat Kohli is a cricket player. It's like normal comments. You are using annotation to comment. Earlier what you are using, but this time you're not using the comments, you're using the concept of annotation. But I want this supplement information to reach to the compiler also. I want this supplement information to reach for the JVM till the runtime also. Then of course I have to change the retention policy till the runtime. I'll just go here dot, I'll say here dot runtime. I hope you are able to understand this concept. Fine. Great. Now, we need to understand some of the built-in annotation to have a better clarity about the concept. We will see whatever values we have, which we have given inside an annotation. I want to fetch those values. Whatever data I have given age, one default data I have given, default country name I have given. I want to fetch that values. Can I do that? The answer is yes. How do we do that? Using the concept of reflection API, we have to use some of the inbuilt classes and methods to get and fetch the values which is present inside annotation. That also will be seeing it, and some of the built-in annotation also will try to explore, and we will see few more things about the annotation, and we will reach to a proper conclusion point, and then I'll give you one summary of the entire concept. You just acknowledge. If you have understood that much, you will be in a position to work with annotation in the future. Fine. Now let's take few minutes of break, and then we will just get back and continue with our discussion. Fine. So let me just click that here. Fine. So let's continue with our discussion. So far, I hope you just got an idea what annotation is. With a basic example which I have taken, Virat Kohli is a class. To this, I have just supplemented some extra information by the name cricket player. Fine. Basically, if you have understood, let's proceed further with our discussion of writing down the code.
What you can see here? Can you see your face?
Yeah, I great. तो यहाँ पर फिलहाल I mean, of course, in between some Hindi. So anyway, this annotation, what is the type? Well, no, what is the element type here? Type, that means can I use for a class? Yes, I can use for a class. But can I use for a constructor or a method or a field or a local variable? The answer is no. You can use only for a class or interface or enum, because I have very clearly specified. Fine. Now what if I want an annotation which I want to be used everywhere? I want that to be used to the class also, to a maybe field also, to constructor also, to method also. Do we have any solution? Maybe this particular annotation cricket player, I want to use maybe to the field, to the method also, maybe to the local variable also, wherever you want. For multi-purpose, I want to use the annotation. Can I do that? Because if I just say type, I cannot use for the field, I cannot use for the constructor. In that case, what to do? You have a solution here. So what to do here is, you just have to specify within the curly brackets, and then you have to specify these things. Now I'll say here, element type dot field. Now again I'll say element type dot method. Now in this case, in this particular case, this annotation by the name cricket player, I can use for the class also, I can use for the field also, that means for instance variable, I can also use for method. Earlier we were getting error here, but now we will not get error because target we have changed. Our target is not restricted to class, our target is for the field also, our target is for the method also. So let me just say here, we don't have any error. To the method, can I use it? Yes, I can say here, cricket player. I hope you are able to see that. Why I'm able to use everywhere? Because I have changed the target. The target is not restricted to the type. It can be used for the field and method also. Earlier, that was not the case. And if you want to target your annotation to be applied on multiple places, in that case, you have to use the curly brackets, and within that, you have to specify what is the element type. That means where and all you can apply and use your annotation. Fine. So two things, whenever we create our own annotation, it works based on the mechanism of interface. At the rate, we have to use which informs compiler that it is not annotation, it is interface. Second thing, we have to specify the target. What is the target of the annotation? Where we want to use that, where that can be applied. The target we have to specify, and then we have to specify the retention policy. Do we want that to be reached till the compiler, till the JVM, or do you want that supplement information about our source code to be restricted to developers only? To be restricted to developers, that means you want that to act like a comment. You don't want to write the comment, you're just adding one annotation, embedding some extra information about the code, about the source file. And if some other developer comes and see, okay, Virat is the class, okay, he's a cricket player, about him the class is being typed. For you also it is an information. But if you specify the runtime, then it will reach till the compile time also, and it will reach till the runtime also. What is the benefit if it is reaching the compile time? That we will see by exploring some of the built-in annotation. Now the next question is, whatever annotation I have created, there are some values inside the annotation, right? I want to get this values. That means age, I have given the default value. If you don't give here, while you are using the annotation like this, which we have done it earlier, we have to specify. But if default values have been given, that values only will be applied. See here, I have given the default value. I want to fetch that values. Can we do it? Yes, we can do it using the concept of reflection API. Now I want to get that values. So maybe here, I'll just print here some message so that you can see the difference. I'll say here, annotations values are fetched below. And now how to do that? See here, very carefully, I'll say here v dot get class. I'll get the information about the class. The return type, you can see it's a class type return type. And now I will collect back the return type here. It's giving me entire class information, maybe C. And later in that all the information, it will just give you, if you have understood the concept of reflection API in the last class, you will be in a position to see what it will give. We are just trying to fetch the values. Usually day-to-day life we don't do that, but we are trying to understand so that all the built-in annotation, when we are going to use it, that time our mind should not have any basic fundamental issues with respect to the concept. Now I'll say here, see that I know all the information. I know you have entire class information, but I need only annotation in that. So I'll say here, get annotation. See, get annotation. So this get annotation, it will give me the annotation information, and that information I will keep it here. I'll keep it. All my annotation details have already fetched. I'll say here, annotation type AN. Fine. So there should not be any issues here. Let me just import. So yeah. Okay. 1 second. Allow me just a minute of time. Okay. Target. Okay. Get no annotation which is applicable. It's a lang package. It should be available. Let me just see here. I'll just import in general. Import java dot lang dot star. Oops. Okay. Allow me just a minute of time. See, what is the return type of a particular method? It should, it should itself give you. I'll say here, c dot get, and I need the, okay, annotation, and I have to pass the annotation detail here. That's where the error is. Which annotation detail you want? That class file you have to pass. I want cricket player, because last time it was not popping up so many annotations option to me. I was just using the annotation method. So now I'll say here, cricket player dot class information about this annotation. I have to give it. Fine. Now that will give me the entire annotation information. I'll use it. I'll store it in annotation. I'll just tell here as annotation AN. Now annotation. Okay, great. Okay, annotation type and reference, I'll say here AN. Okay, great. Fine. So it should not have any issue now. I don't know. No. The parent of all annotations, like we have the parent of all the Java classes in Java is object, and the parent of all the exceptions in Java is exception. Similarly, the parent of all annotations in Java is annotation. So let me just see the quick fix. It must be about the package. Let me see here. Let's try to explore that here. Okay, maybe annotation is a sub package. I would do one thing here. Instead of all these things, I would just tell here as star, so that all the things inside an annotation I can use it. Now problem will be solved. Yeah, great. The problem is solved. Now, if you worked with collection earlier, whatever information you add inside a collection, if you have not used the concept of generics, maybe you have not used the concept of generics and you're just using the collection, array list, linked list, you're adding the information into your collection. That will store, that will store as an object, right? And whenever you want to fetch that information, will it fetch as a, will you be able to fetch as a string or integer or as a object? As a object, because collection takes object. Whatever information you store inside a collection, that will store as an object, and whenever you retrieve back, it will be given you object only. But if you want in a specific format, if you want that to be in a string format, if you want that to be in integer format, then you have to perform casting. You have to downcast it. Now, whatever information this get annotation will give, based on the supplement which you are passing, based on the argument which we have passed to this method, it will give me entire annotation which is of parent type. Who's the parent of all annotation? Annotation. Like we have object is the parent of all the classes in Java, and if you have added your information into your collection, that will store as an object. And if you want to retrieve back and you want to work with a string, then you have to downcast from object to the string. You have to downcast from object to the integer. Similarly, if you want to behave like a cricket player annotation only, you have to downcast from parent type annotation to the cricket player, and that's what we are going to do here. So I'll store that in the cricket player, type maybe cp equals to, and here I will downcast it to cricket player. And what is that I'm going to downcast? An. This annotation I'm just downcasting it. See here, this annotation is a parent type, but I don't want to fetch like a parent annotation. I want it to behave like a cricket player so that I can get all the information of cricket player class, no annotation. So I have just downcasted it. Now I will say here cp dot. Now whatever you want to give, maybe age, I'll get the age and I would like to print it directly. I'll say system.out.println. Oops, this is not working. Anyway, I'll say here, I would like to say system.out.println, and I would just like to print it. And similarly, what else we have? We have country, right? I'll say system.out.println, and I'll say here cp dot, I'll say here country. Now you'll be in a position to fetch that. So let me just see here, one message also I would like to add. Age is equals to, or maybe something like this, and I will just concatenate. Similarly, I will say here, maybe I would like to concatenate. I'll say here country. Great. Fine, let's try to run our application. See here, annotation values are fetched below. Are we able to get that? That means, are we able to fetch the details which is there inside an annotation? The answer is yes, we are able to fetch using the concept of reflection API. I have just given the reference why I'm not downcasting an annotation type to the cricket player. If you have worked earlier with Java, if you know what is upcasting, downcasting, if you have worked with the concept of polymorphism, which is fundamentally, if you're a Java developer, you must know. And if you have worked with Java, you must know the concept of collection. Whatever reference I have given, why I have downcasted from annotation type to cricket player, you must be in a position to understand. Those are the basic necessities to understand some of the advanced concept. Fine. Directly, no, many concepts in Java has dependency on the previous concepts. By chance, if you have not worked with collection, if you have not worked with the concept of interfaces, if you have not worked with Java in general, at least the core Java, if you have not practiced, then 100% you will not be in a position to understand the advanced concept. There is always dependency here. I have not explained you about variables, setters, getters, class, object creations, interfaces. I have not explained that. I have kept in mind that you are very much familiar with those concepts, and then I have continued my discussion. Now with this, I hope you are able to understand at least fundamentally what exactly annotation is. Yes, acknowledge that on the chat. So if you have understood, I have some questions which I expect you to answer. Can you use every annotation everywhere? That means there is an annotation. Can you apply that as a supplement information everywhere, to the field also, to the class also, to the constructor also? No. That depends on the target which is mentioned when they have created that annotation. It depends on the target. If they have given only to the class, can you apply that to any other place? Can you apply? No. I hope you are able to understand that point also here. Now let's try to create one more file here and try to understand. Maybe I'll say here launch an2.java, and here we will just try to use some of the basic annotations, okay, which you might have used, or if not, I'll be conveying that. How many of you know the concept of interface? How many of you know the concept of interface? I'll say here interface, maybe whatever name you'd like to give, it's up to you. I'll just give here demo. It's okay, fine. Some sample interface. Great. Within this interface, I'll write one method here, void display. The first thing is, since you have used the interface keyword here, by default, this method is public as well as abstract. That is fine. This interface is an interface. We have one abstract method. Can I implement this particular interface in a normal class, traditional way, by writing the class and using the implements keyword? Yes, I can do it. But can I also do the implementation of this particular interface using the concept of lambda expression in Java? Your answer must be yes. Lambda expression you can write if there is functional interface. And what is functional interface? Such an interface which has single abstract method. Any interface which has only one abstract method, we can implement using lambda expression. And lambda expression is totally dependent on functional interface. If there is no functional interface, there is no lambda expression. Right now, I have this particular interface which has only one abstract method. I would like to implement that using the concept of lambda expression. Can we do it? Answer is yes, of course you can do it. I will just tell here as demo type d equals to parameters required, and right side the implementation. Fine. This is how we write the lambda expression. And here I'll say system.out.println. Maybe I'll say here lambda. Am I able to do it? Yes, I'm able to do it. Now, maybe this is developed by some other developer and implementation is given by some other developer. And he thought, let's have one more requirement. Interfaces, usually we write to specify the requirements that has to be implemented by some other developers. I'll say, let me add one more, requirement here. I'll say here, void maybe display 2. Or maybe void add one more requirement I have added here. Is there any error here? No. Wherever lambda expression is being implemented, we have got affected there badly, because you cannot implement lambda expression if that interface has more than one abstract method. Now what to do? This developer who has just added one more specification is not aware that this interface might have been implemented using the lambda expression. He might have thought maybe some class is there. Now what to do in that case? In this case, you can use the concept of annotation which has been given in Java. Whenever you are defining a functional interface in Java, you have to use one annotation there. Name of the annotation is functional interface annotation. Functional interface annotation. Now, if you use this annotation here, functional interface annotation, see here very carefully, immediately we have got one error here. Now, I will just not use this. See, the error is gone. Now, if you use this annotation to this, if you embed extra information to this code, now if some other developers comes here and sees, by looking at this information, it is indication for a developer also. Okay, this interface is an functional interface. That means someone might have implemented this interface using the concept of lambda expression. Now I cannot add some extra specification here. Why? Because since it is a functional interface, someone might have implemented using the lambda expression. He will not add. It is acting like one comment, one message to the developer also. Also, this message, the retention policy here is till the runtime. Why? Because if I add here any other method, maybe add, am I getting the compile time error? Yes, I am getting the compile time error. That means while defining this functional interface annotation by the Java team. Retention policy they have given till the runtime. That means it will reach till the to the compiler also. Now compiler is also able to get that information about this code. You have informed to the developer also that this is a functional interface by writing this annotation. You have also informed compiler also that this annotation is a functional interface. And if someone, despite of having this information here, tried to add one more abstract method, compiler is also throwing an error saying that you cannot have more than one abstract method there. I hope now you're able to identify whatever we have seen here, retention policy. If you just add till the source, then compiler will not care. Maybe if Java team would have added the retention policy of this functional interface till the source, if you add one more information, will compiler throw any error to you? No, compiler will not throw any error. I hope you are able to understand. And one more thing I would like to say here. This annotation you have seen, and I have a method here. Main method is also a method, of course. To this method also, maybe I would like to write one more method here. Okay, great. Void display to one method I have given here within the same class. Oops, it's going outside the class. No, it's within the same. And to this method, I have used this interface, annotation called as functional interface. Am I getting error here? Yes. This shows what would have been the target while Java team created this annotation. What target they might have given? Is it method? Is it field? Is it constructor? Or is it type? It is type. That means the target is not for everywhere. You cannot use this for a method. You cannot use this for a field. You cannot use this for local variables, and you cannot use this for constructors. Nowhere you can use it because they have already specified the target of this particular annotation. Whenever you create annotation, whether you are creating or maybe Java team behind the scene, they have created. While they have created, they have also specified the targets. They have also specified the retention policy. Hence, that is the reason every annotation you cannot use everywhere. Whenever you are using the concept of annotation, you cannot use every annotation everywhere. Bin you cannot use for a variable. I hope you are able to understand that part here. Fine. Repository you cannot use for a variable. I hope you can able to recollect that because the target they have specified is different. And of course, all the majority of the annotations with Java team has been created, they have capacity to reach till the runtime, till the JVM level. Hence, if you use here and there, compiler also will throw an error. Now, this whatever information you have added to the features of this particular code, there is no effect. It will stay as a public abstract method only. This it will not affect anything. Whatever code you are applying this annotation, this code will not be affected. Rather, it is just one supplement information which you have added to your source code. Fine. And the supplement information, it will act like an indication to developer also. It will act indication and one message to the compiler as well as till the JVM. And that is the reason why we call annotation is a replacement of XML. Earlier, if you know Java, if you have worked with Java configurations, majority of that we used to do using the XML files. Now XML approach is gone. It's outdated. Using the XML approach, we used to inform compiler and JVM that what is what, which is a Java bean here, right? Now all of that is not required. Now we just use the annotations @bean, @configuration annotations. All of that code has been reduced. Using the concept of annotations, now we provide supplement information to the source code using the concept of annotation. I hope you are able to, understand this particular concept. All present. Now one more example, let's take it. I would just like to add here, maybe class, whatever example you would like to give, it's up to you. I would just say here, maybe animal. Great. I would like to add here class tiger extends animal. Now I have just created parent-child relationship and I have one method here, public void it. And I would just add one message here, system.out.println. I'll say here animal eats. That's one generic message. And the moment you have said extends, all this behavior got inherited in the tiger also. But in the child class, I'm not happy with the behavior of a parent class. Do I have a privilege to change the behavior in the child class after inheriting from the parent? Do I have that privilege? The answer is yes, I have a privilege. Can I override that? Yes, I can override. I'll say yeah. Public void, maybe I'll say yeah, it. I'll overwrite. I'll say here system dot out dot println. I will say here maybe tiger hunts and eat. There is no problem here. I'm able to override. Now, while overriding the method of the parent class as per the demand of child class, sometimes you may give wrong name. Right now with this example, it's very simple method name. Eat. You may not mismatch in that case. Sometimes the method name will be lengthy. Maybe I'll say here example public void. I'll say here animal always hunts and eat. Right? Some behavior is there. Now I want to override this behavior. Can I do it here? Yes, I can override. No, I can do it. Now during this time, I will change the behavior of the parent. I will change it. And while you are changing the behavior, that means you have to write that method once again in order to change the behavior of a parent class in a child class. Whatever method we have in the parent class, in child class, if you want to, change the behavior, then we have to override. And while overriding, you may commit some mistakes. I'll say here animal always hunts and eat. Now I am under assumption that I have overridden the proper method, and whatever body I am giving the child class, I am expecting whatever behavior I have given in the child class, by overriding that will be there in my result. But when you see the result, this change in the behavior will not be able to see. The change will be reflected as it is, whatever is there in the parent class. Why? Because you have not overridden the proper method. You are in the assumption that you have done that, but you have not overridden the proper method. In that case, again, you can use the concept of annotation. I will say here, this is the method which I am going to override. And the moment you use this annotation here, see, we are getting error. It indicates to developer that you are not overriding proper method. You are not changing the behavior of a method which you supposed to change. That problem you can solve. You will not do any mistake here. Then I will verify, okay, there is a difference. I am not overriding a proper method. Now I will override the proper method here. See here, I will override the proper method. Here also annotation came as a escape. See, and now tell me, this annotation, is it a class level, is it a field level, or is it a method level? Yes, it is a method level annotation. You can use only to the method. Can I use this to the class? Can you use this to the class? See here, can you use it? I am getting one error here. No. Why no? Because Java team, while they were creating this annotation, what target they might have given? What target they might have given? The target which they might have given is method. Hence, this particular annotation you can use only to the method. Now I hope you have understood the background also, why some of the specific annotations you can use in a specific places only, in the specific areas only. You cannot use every annotation everywhere. But if the target they have given in this style, maybe multiple places, can you then apply this annotation to everywhere, wherever you want? Depends on what is the target they have given. And in future, while you are developing Java application, if you have come across some of the annotation which you are able to apply to a class also, to a method also, to a field also, that means the target while they have created that annotation is field also, constructor also, class also, everywhere. Based on the target, you can use that particular annotation. Whenever you are also creating, whenever Java team has created, you have to inform what is the target and what is the retention policy of a particular annotation. I hope now you are able to understand this particular concept. So basically, on a conclusion note, what we have understood, that annotation works based on the mechanism of interface. If you want to create your own annotation, you have to use the mechanism of interface. You just have to attach @symbol, which informs compiler that it is not interface annotation based type is being created. Whenever you create annotation, two things you must specify. What is that? Target, where you want to use the annotation, and second thing, retention policy. You should know this particular annotation, should it act like only till as a comment till source code, or it should have a power till the compile time and the runtime. That also you have to inform. And also, I hope now with all this example, you are in a position to acknowledge my definition that annotation simply is an extra you are supplementing one extra information. You are embedding extra information on your source code, which can act like an indication to the developers, to the compiler, also till the runtime. We can also create our own annotations, and why some particular annotation you can apply on a specific place only. That also I hope you are able to understand. With this fundamental idea about annotation, in future you will be in a position to play around with annotations, which you are going to use extensively as a Java developer. Whenever you build a Spring Boot application, you will not find single file without annotation. That is a level of annotations which you are going to use in the future classes or in the future learnings, or whenever you are going to develop application. I hope you are able to get one picture about the concept of annotation. Just acknowledge me on the chat once. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to all the audience that were there in this entire session. I hope you have enjoyed, and I hope you have got the idea about the concept of annotation. Thank you so much, Naveen sir, for the opportunity.
Oh, thank you so much, Heather. In fact, I forgot that the AC is on here with full speed. It was blowing on, Heather. I hope you're good. It was chill, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So once again, thank you so much, Heather, for the amazing session. And see, the thing is, in this particular challenge, we are not covering basics, right? We're talking about the advanced concepts. And people coming from the other background, they might find it difficult to understand reflection API, annotations, and that's completely fine, okay? Don't feel bad just because you're not able to understand this particular concept. And I'm sure people from Java background, they got the idea, and the way you taken the flow was very good from basic to advanced, and it was good. Now, if you found it difficult, it's very simple. You just have to rewatch this session and practice by yourself. That's very important. And from last few months, I'm following this concept. Just don't just learn something, implement them. So I'm sure you can practice this, and also they can try out different examples, right?
Definitely.
Any specific thing that you want them to do as an example?
First of all, minimum thing if they want to learn, all of you, is that you have to, the minimum thing is that you have to do whatever programs you have done in the live class, and whenever there is any deviation where you are not able to understand, you have to go to the point of deviation. What is the one point because of which you are not able to get that concept? And you have to identify that. Is it because you are not aware with the concept of reflection API? You're not aware with the concept of interfaces. If you know all those concepts, still if you are having doubt, then again you have to go to the point exactly what might be the point, and you have to rewatch the video, and you have to generate more examples. Don't be specific to a particular video. Never be content specific. Whenever you learn something, immediately the first thing you must do is to implement more examples, so that you have better idea about the particular concept. The more practice you do, the more confident you will be in a specific concept.
Okay, cool. That's amazing. Now coming back to the assignment which I wanted to give you is very simple. This time there is no practical assignment. This is a theory assignment. Now I hope you understood the concept of annotations, and we have worked on a small project where we have used certain annotations. I want you to go through those annotations once again, but this time understanding which annotation comes on what level, What's the difference between those annotations? In fact, there was one comment in the chat which mentioned difference between service, component, and there was one more, controller. So make sure that you find the difference of them. How do you differentiate those annotations and write an article on it? Okay, and I hope you know the gist, right? You just have to first you have to make sure that if you are in this contest of winning a MacBook, in the description there is a link for a Google form. I hope there is. Hush. Okay, the AI bot. So normally they call them as AI bot. So the AI bot has mentioned a link in description. Make sure that you check it out for the Google form. Register yourself with your LinkedIn ID and post an article on LinkedIn about annotations and different type of annotations. It will be mostly theory, and if you can also rewatch the session, practice, and push them on GitHub, that will be also useful. Next, again, it's time for promotion. So I hope you know, just for people who joined later, we are launching a live course which is Mastering Java and Spring Boot. So basically that's coming up from 4th of June, which is 10 days from now. And yeah, so since you are attending these live sessions and you are the cream people who work hard, I want you people in the batch. So make sure that you check that out, check the course link. And trust me, the entire course will be amazing because that is for 6 months. What you are learning here in 1 hour will be taught there in number of days, right? So it will be quite fun. And once again, I hope you enjoyed the session. Even I enjoyed. I was sitting there watching this on YouTube, not live, because I wanted to check everything is going well. I was interacting with you on chat, and there was one question. Is it live? Yes, it is live. Everything is live. No, we don't do recording live. We do record it and we do live, but not both at the same time. Cool. So thank you so much everyone for joining, and hit that like button if you enjoyed, and make sure that you subscribe. And tomorrow, we are going to talk about the interview questions. Okay, so not the questions which you answer by verbally, the questions which you solve. Example, if they give you some problem statement, how do you think about a problem statement? How do you solve it? That's what we're going to focus on. Okay, so thank you so much. Okay, there's a question from developers too. Is it okay if we post blog on Medium and then share it? Oh, that's fine. Even that works. So assignment is practice the entire video which we have seen or which we have done here, and then write an article about it. And also in Spring we have used different annotations, so you can explain those things. Nirmala says annotations decorators are same, isn't it? No, they are different. They have a different behavior. They both start with annotations, but they have a different behavior. So basically in Python, decorators are used to change the behavior of your code. Cool. So thank you so much once again, and thank you so much, Heather, for the amazing session on annotations. And see you tomorrow. Heather will not be coming back tomorrow because he stays very far. Maybe I'll try to get him online. Maybe you can have a 2 parallel sessions going on. Maybe one session we can have both, and we can talk about something. So thank you so much, and see you in the next session. Bye-bye.